played rough in there.
Yeah, they did,
but we did get to point up the grotesqueness of a lot of bad things. You know, evil stuff.
Yeah. There was a certain baseball owner that you took the piss out of.
Well, you know, and it didn't even sound like her because it wasn't important to me. I just took a voice, like I grew up in Boston.
Right.
And there were a lot of ladies that didn't like, you know, other racial groups. Like, you know, they're here to wreck our beach. All of them, look, over them, those, over there, them. And it was like, it was so annoying, but it was hysterically funny because it was just so, it was so unreal. She was like a cartoon character, this one lady. Well, I used that voice for her. But I was, you know, auditioning at the very same time for Nick's stuff, and Stimpy was hey, Ren, will you button me? And they drew him to look like me. I had all these crow's feet, ostrich feet, on my eyes, you know, and he's always like, and I made those faces when I was doing it. Joy! Happy, joy. And then Ren was, he's a combination of different things. He's south of the border, so he has sort of a Mexican accent sometimes, and then sometimes he's got like a Danish accent, and that's what I loved about him. Sometimes he'd have a black spot on his head, and other times he wouldn't.
Right.
You know, I just love that they messed with things on that show, and Ren was like, "You shut up, you fool! That's what should kill you! You blue sack of protoplasm!" You know, and it was like veins coming out of my neck. I called my wife and said, "I don't think I'm going to be able to do this job." I sounded like Alec Baldwin. Violet, I don't think I can do this job, Violet. And it went away. I had to learn how to scream, you know, like that full force without killing myself. That was tough.
And speaking of that, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to do Popeye because I know
Why
that...
not?
I
Do I look like a pussy? I mean,
no,
I gotta do something for a
well,
living.
no, I'm also saying that that's hard on your voice.
It is because I did it probably, in one setting I did it longer than anybody.
Sure.
You know, just like for a whole hour. It was an hour and then they cut it down for television. But, you know, it was like two voices. I figured this out. It's a high voice and a low voice at the same time. And there's singers in Mongolia.
Yeah, the throat singers.
The throat singers, Tuvans, and they would go, you know, it was like a country beat, country western beat, because it was a horse culture.
Right.
That's where we got our country from. You know, that was the horse, and that was the rhythm. So these guys, instead of singing, you know, I'll be there to put you in a pushcart, honey, they would go, dum, 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 dum. And I said, Jesus, that sounds like Popeye. And I was right. It was like splitting it up, you know. You, olive oil, I bring you some flowers. And it was, you, olive oil, I bring you some flowers. And you stuck them together. You, olive oil, I bring you some flowers.
I found it interesting that that's how you found his voice was through the Tibetan throat singers.
That's right. Because we all, when I was a kid, we all did it and we all sung, you know.
Right.
It wasn't that great, but no one figured out the real way. And I was like, I found out later on in life, like about a year and a half ago, that I had ADHD. And I only fixated on weird little things.
Right.
But I would know everything there was to know about it, and I'd do it. You know, I'd hear something, I would do it. I wouldn't rest until I could do it perfectly. You know, it's like this is the reward of a misspent youth, if anything. But you know, that voice was done by a guy named Bill Costello, and he was all full of himself. It's the 30s, you know, so he thought he was a big deal, and he became a big lout, drinking all night and come in the next day and yell at people. So he got rid of him, but there was an animator there who used to do impressions of Popeye, like the guy who really did it.
Right.
He did impressions. His name was Jack Mercer, and he was in the animation department, he was also a drummer. So he added this percussion thing to Popeye when Popeye would sing.
Sure.
You know, and I used to be the, hey, you know what, nobody cares what you're doing in a booth with your hands, you know, dark booth. Right?
Well, I mean, maybe the guy in the room after you might hear.
Tom Kenny does it. With a throat grabber club, me and him.
That's 90% of SpongeBob, those
Yeah, I know. He's wonderful. He's unbelievable, and he's so funny. And I just love all these guys, and I hold them in really high esteem.
And that's what I've heard is, you know, the overwhelming majority of the voice actor, voiceover group is very much a Band of Brothers, where you're very
Not New York.
Not New York?
No, everybody's jealous.
So it's an LA family.
Yeah, you walk into the room and some guy comes over and it's like, you know, suddenly the spotlight is on you and it's a fight, rocking. It's awful. I will break you. But, yeah, so
I'm just here to let you go for now.
No, I love that. I love that. I'm trying to think. Oh, at the same time with the Nicktoons, I did, here I am doing the devil's work at the Stern Show, and then, you know, more psycho stuff with Ren and Stimpy, and then I was doing the voice of this sweet kid. He was 11 and a half.
11-and-a-half-year-old, and I got a crush on Patty Mayonnaise. And this is my dog Pork Chop.
So I can't strike Doug off my list.
And Roger, you know.
Hey, loser! Guess what? I'm running for office funny, so vote for this!
I did the Nickelodeon Doug, not the Disney one. I couldn't do business with them. No, they wanted me to do like upwards of, like, when they took over, they wanted me to do like 13 characters if they wanted.
Right.
Pay me like
At the scale of one character.
at the scale of what I started with at Nickelodeon.
Right.
And it's like, you know, everybody was like, there's something wrong with this guy, all he wants is money. No, there's a difference. You don't sit there after you did something for 4 years and somebody comes along and goes, hey, good news, you're going to work for a little less money. You know, I'm not a test pilot, and I even knew that, but everybody was like, oh, greedy bastard and all this. But what I had to say was, you can't sit there and laugh while somebody's stealing your shoes. Anybody that's going in this business, you better learn that.
Yeah.
You know, because you're an innocent. You're like, you know, Candide, Voltaire. You know, you just want to offer something, bring something, and the intentions are pure. But, you know, people will latch on to that. What else you do? What else can you do? You know, and it's like, can I get paid for any of this? All right, you got to talk to the guy at the hall. You know, yeah, I don't like that. So I wised up real soon. But I was going to say, you know, getting into show business, it wasn't even on my mind. I could draw, I could do voices and make noises, but I just didn't see what the use of it was. But I couldn't help it. You know, it's like when a job chooses you rather than you choosing it, it just comes along one day. You've got to just go with it. It's taking you somewhere. And I had to just listen to that. Because everything I learned in school would, you know, not prepare me for anything in the year 2016. I would have been out of work at 35, you know, if I had done a regular job. And, you know, the fact that you did a great job all that time doesn't count for anything. There's no security. They got rid of the unions. Social Security, you barely have any. And your house is upside down underwater and you can't provide for your family. It's the George Bailey syndrome, you know, like in Wonderful Life. Why, George, you're worth more dead than alive. You know, and so he's thinking, I gotta save my family. And so what does he do? He tries to take himself out. That's happening all over. My mom calls me every day and says there's another, you know, middle-aged guy who played by the rules, who did everything he was supposed to do, and then got the rug of life pulled out from under him. And they got hit sideways. You know, years ago we were taught a man who had a trade, half an estate, meaning if you could build something with your hands, people are going to need you. That is a skill, and it got rewarded, and all of a sudden, no factories anymore. So I thought about it, and I said,
We only have like one factory left that never downsizes and keeps growing exponentially is show business.
Mm-hmm. That's our, you know, other than produce, it's our biggest export.
But I mean, while I was being taught all this other stuff that I would never, ever use or need in my life, I wound up doing what I was doing when I was 10 years old. You know, Touretting out voices and noises and all this other stuff.
What's it Rob Paulson says? How lucky are we?
Oh, how lucky are we is right. Like I said, I would have been out of work in my 30s had I did what everybody told me to do. But here's the thing. Just because you don't have super talent doesn't mean you can't be part of the entertainment or media business. In show business, if you can make gourmet meals, there's a job there for you. If you're a carpenter, you can make things with your hands and yet, you know, you're not working, there's a job there. For every walk of life, there's a job. So you can design garments and sew them or whatever, or you're a designer, graphics people. You know, you don't have to be in the spotlight. You don't have to have like the starring role of anything, but it's just so immense now.
For sure.
You know, and nobody seems to care about much else besides media and entertainment.
Well,
And the way the world is, I don't blame them, you know. I mean, that was my escape when I was a kid. I lived in a hell house, and I created my own little universe, and I was president of it.
well, I see. I mean, you're wearing a hat. You're from Detroit.
Yes.
Originally.
Yes.
And, you know, who would have thought that, you know, Detroit would now be almost a third world? It was the heart and soul of America. It's where we talk about Detroit steel being the heart of America, the Rust Belt, and Detroit sort of being the epicenter of that.
But all these people felt good about themselves, you know, and if you just knew inherently that if you worked real hard, you were willing to work hard and put in the hours, you were going to get something good out of it. And people could put their kids through college, they could buy a house and everything, and now, forget about it.
Guys, I promise, we're going to get to funny stuff later.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm a downer.
Hour 3 of the
Oh
depressing
no,
talk.
don't cry. It gets better. But I had my own little world going on, and I was attracted to things that were otherworldly, like sci-fi, robots. You know, like I love the 1940s and 50s versions of robots that would be around, like in 2016.
When they were robots.
When they were robots. Say, what do you make of this murdering robot? You know, people talk funny. They would say, oh no, I don't have any dough. You watch an old movie sometime, you'll crack up laughing, you hear the girl, she doesn't want to answer the phone because it's her boyfriend. Oh mother, get the phone!
I just can't, Mother.
Oh no, it's chilly.
Yeah, you like that stuff? I mean, people did kind of speak like that, but not so much in the Midwest, you know, because we were like, you know, we drink pop, Faygo, rock and rice, soda, ginger ale, burners. Yeah, that was Michigan.
Well, and then, you know, so if we're talking, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the Three Stooges.
Yes. Oh, well, I stopped going to church when I discovered the Three Stooges. I found my saints,
Well, when
you
you
know.
find your religion, you don't need to...
That was my religion. I put the Three Stooges, if I can, in every single thing I do. You know, like if someone's sleeping, I'll always go, you know. I put all that stuff in. But it'd be like, you know, Mo was the boss, but he was sometimes stupider than the other two.
For sure.
But I love that because that's a parallel to life. Is the guy in charge, you know, might be a total imbecile.
Mm-hmm.
But here, Mo set the template for that, you know. And someone get me a towel! You know, and it's like, Curly will bring over, like, you know, a dead Wolverine or something.
Or not quite dead Wolverine.
Yeah, Larry will go, give me that, I'm gonna put it on his head. Hey, wait a minute, it's not dead yet. Ah, this'll do it.
And it's a bonding thing for generations, especially for fathers and sons.
Yes.
Where my dad and I did not get along very well, but as
So
soon as the Stooges came on, my brother, my dad, and I would sit quietly for 30 minutes, an hour, however long it was on TV,
Sure.
and watch the Stooges, and as soon as it was done, we'd talk about it for 30 seconds, and then I would be sullen teenager and go back to my room. But Larry, Moe, Curly, Shem, that was 40 years after they had been filmed, was still it still is today,
Well,
a milestone and a touch point for so many people.
I was going to school in the late 50s. I used to see the Three Stooges before I went to school. So I had a head full of that stuff. I could care less about academia. Honest to God, I could care less. And I wasn't wasting my time. I learned comedic timing. I learned how to act. You know, because it stayed with me. I didn't just, when the TV went off, I didn't. I'd be like running around. You know, how does he do that thing, you know? Yeah, it's, you know, it's all sound effects, but you think someone's actually able to do that. It's like guitar players who go back and listen to Les Paul records, you know, and he's playing at a mile a minute, and it sounds like he's playing so high and everything until we all learned that he recorded at half speed. So that when it came up to the regular time of the song, it was like in the stratosphere. But there were players like me, I was obsessed with that. A human being did it. A human being with a thumb and 4 fingers did this. And it can be done because somebody did it, you know. And you actually can come close, but that's what creates hybrids, is what you think about something that influenced you. Yeah, the Stooges, boy. I liked outer space stuff like crazy. I loved archaeology because of mummies and the pyramids and all that. And it was my dream when I was like 12 years old to go to Egypt and get naked and climb up the pyramid and stand there during a full moon. Something's gonna happen. Please, something is gonna happen. I just know it. You know, so I got to get a lot of that stuff out with shows like, you know, Futurama. I auditioned for, I think, just Fry, and then they had me try a bunch of others. But Fry was like, you know, he just would make proclamations as if it was something really important.
Greetings from the year 3000.
It still sucks. Good, we all needed to know that. You know, saying silly takes on things. The writers were brilliant, you know. Hey, Fry, I heard beer makes you stupid.
No, it doesn't.
Now, I've heard that the writers for Futurama, most of them were PhDs in, you know, a lot of them at least, were PhDs in astrophysics and
Math and science.
This was a not stupid room of
Harvard
writers.
University.
Yeah.
David Cohen came out of Harvard.
Yeah.
A few others did. That's an interesting thing that you know, science thinkers could write comedy.
Sure.
And I love their take on it. You know, they do these science jokes that are totally like accurate because they'll bring in like a math head from MIT and ask him, if we did this, would it work? And he goes,
yes, it would.
yeah, he would be like, you know, well, plausibly. You know, I don't know what happened in those rooms. I just do my thing. But you know, and then I was very, very lucky. I got to audition for a lot of parts. I auditioned for Bender, but I just made him too much like a rough construction worker, and there was no play there.
Sure.
You know, but John made him sound like a punch-drunk fighter. You know, it's like,
I want to shout at the champ.
you are the champ.
Ah.
You know, sort of off a little. And then Zoidberg was a crustacean doctor. And the funniest thing about him is that he's poor. He's a doctor, but he's poor. That just kills me.
Well, you got, you know, eat a sandwich from the dumpster.
That's right, I do. And lady, giving me another one. I'm struggling. See, all that Stooge stuff came in handy.
Now, you also
They're terrible.
you based him off of
A couple of guys.
yeah.
I like fusions of things. Like, the professor was, you know, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. And he got off my list. I said, what is he? And they said, he's 147. you know, that's it, you're on your own or something. I don't know, I would look at them and I would go, if he's 147, he'd be farting dust like a mummy.
Right.
So he'd be like kind of holding it together, I guess, and I used to be like, you know, that young idiot, try. You know, and you're not supposed to do that stuff if you're voice acting, but I break the rules left and right.
It's the same thing as doing this. I mean,
It
it's
is.
just, you're getting into the character. Your body is acting as much as your voice.
Oh yeah, and so he was rickety, and I just played him off like that, and then I gave him some eccentricities that he didn't have originally, where he just burst out laughing in this high-pitched, you know, it's like, you know, we're going through the fry hole. And they'd be like, that's right, you know. Just nuts for 1 second. It's like all of them are psychotic. Yeah, it's like the Seinfeld show. They were all like, you know, psychos or something.
Well, it's
In their own way.
so Fry is the everyman, right?
He
Fry
was always described as that, except that he has a good heart, he means well, and he thinks he's cool because the brain, there's a disconnect before it comes out of his
Sure.
mouth. So in his head, he's cool.
Well, it's diarrhea of the mouth and constipation of the brain. That's what
Yes.
my father used to always accuse me of.
Well, it's actually a huge Cadillac Escalade being driven by a Pinto engine. Yeah, and you know, I loved that they gave me these assignments for voice, and that Zapp Brannigan was a combination of all, you know, superheroes, kind of the big bloated ones that
Sure.
are full of themselves.
And the radio announcers.
Radio announcers, because I was in radio, but when I was a kid, I loved these big dumb announcers, you know, that everybody loved, but no one really knew why. Why? Because he's got this big, huge voice. He hasn't got a thought in his head, which I found out they don't ad-lib because they're always reading something. Hey, check this out. Yeah. You know, StocktonCon, I love that. And who's going to be there? Billy West? Yeah. Yeah, Billy West. Yeah. You know, and they were like running out the clock because they had so little going on that they'd stretch out words in a weird way. We're coming up on 11:30 a.m. And, you know, coming to Worcester Centrum. And they love syllables. You know, 7, 11. Yeah, they loved it. And so I just made him be one of these guys that just used the hamburger helper of speaking, you know, just deliberating. It's ego. He wants to fill the air with the sound of his voice. He loves that far and away above everything else in the entire universe. And, you know, he carries his pajamas in a wheelbarrow. That's right. Everybody loves me because I'm a big, dumb announcer. And then they went away. Because when I first came to Madison Avenue, there was still a lot of big, dumb announcers around. But, you know, they'd be like, Thompson's water seal. And I worked with that guy, and then I found out he was Bluto in all the Popeye cartoons. Yeah, I mean, I met a lot of the old timers, but there were a bunch of guys that were just big voices, and you know, it's evolution. It's like entropy. It was Madison Avenue, 30 years ago on Madison Avenue, a species roamed the earth. They were dominant. They were Rexes. They were thunder lizards. And then they went extinct, and what replaced them was little dumb announcer. You know, it was me and a breed of guys that were like raptors. Right? You had to be able to do everything. You couldn't just come in and go, what do you think of me? You know, you couldn't do it anymore.
Well, that's what guys like you and Mo Lamarche
Yes,
and
Rob
Paulson, guys who could do 60, 70 voices in a conversation at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I've heard you and Mo and Rob on Rob's old podcast,
Oh, yeah.
where, you know, they did Pinky and the Brain and Larry.
Yes.
Which
That was
was
a real episode.
Yeah, it was absolutely, it was great because it was basically, you said almost nothing until the very end. You said, I'm Larry.
Yeah. And Larry. But it would sound like Larry from the Three Stooges,
Right.
you know?
So it was Pinky and the Brain.
Hey, Mo, I puked on my shoe. You know, the little that he said just fractured me molecularly. I would just go, what is that voice? What is this? You know, I found out he was from Philadelphia. So, a lot of those guys, like, there was bad plumbing you know, like George Jetson, George O'Hanlon,
Right.
was from Philadelphia, and he had that stoppage. I don't know what it is. It was like, oh, come on, Janie, honey, the cleaners are 500 miles away. It'll take an extra 5 minutes just to get there. You know,
And Larry was all stuffed up too. I don't know if the water or the hoagies or I don't know. Kev.
So, I've got a couple things that I put on here. Only one of these is really for me. You played on Justice League Unlimited. You were Skeets,
yes,
Booster Gold's little sidekick.
Yeah.
And I was watching it, and I go, is that Billy West? Because it was you, almost just your native voice.
well, Bruce Timm, the director
Yeah.
on that show, just said, no, just be Billy. You know, he was tired of guys coming in and doing these put-on voices and stuff. A lot of times that's what you have to do, but you got to make it rooted in some kind of reality that somebody can relate to.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're way over the moon and people can't, you know, identify with it.
Right.
Anyway. So yeah, and I said, I've only done that once, with Fry.
Well, that's Josh.
25-year-old Pete's delivery boy.
And I sounded like that when I was 25. I was in a band, you know, and I was whining and complaining.
Oh man, I broke a string. Now what am I supposed to do?
You know, that's exactly what I sounded like. I still do.
Well, isn't that sort of job security too? Who's going to come in and steal a job from
That
Billy
was-
West when it's his voice?
That was what I was thinking. It's like, it's very hard to do somebody's real voice. Like, it's hard for me to imitate Maurice LaMarche.
Sure.
But I can come close to the characters, as a million comedians every night of the week in stand-up clubs, you know, they do our characters, I'm
Right.
sure. But it was a great thing to kind of like let go, but it was adventurous on Futurama because I didn't know what they wanted.
Sure.
And, you know, and they had Katie Seagal come in, and she can't do like a million voices or anything like a Tress McNeil.
Right.
But her voice was very unique and solid, and she's a musician. She's a hell of a musician.
She's a great singer.
Great singer. She played in a lot of bands. I related to her because of that. I went and saw her one night, and I was practically crying because she did a song she wrote. And I'm like, you know, I'm sensitive anyway.
Right.
And she's singing this song, and I started to tear up, and I said, Katie, you know, no offense or anything, but you know what you remind me? You remind me of Laura Nyro, a woman in the 70s that wrote all those hits for The Fifth Dimension, Wedding Bell Blues,
Mhm.
you know, Eli's Coming, all that stuff. And she said she was my idol.
Wow.
You know, so I recognized the energy immediately. You do that. That's why you are who you're with in life. That's why, because you recognize their energy. There's something that's real familiar, and that's what, kind of, you know, it's physics, actually. I'm not going to go into physics.
Yeah, we're going to open it up to Q&A, so if we want to start maybe queuing up, there's a microphone over here, so if you do have a question for Billy, please feel free to sort of get up in line here.
Mm-hmm. No, I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Physics. I love the way Mo explained the theory of relativity. Einstein did it in 1914. You know,
Sure.
E equals mc squared. And in the 30s, Mo said, we ain't getting no place fast. That's basically the theory of relativity.
It really is. So I just wanted to touch on a couple things. So Comic Book the Movie, that was kind of your, I don't know if that was your first in front of the camera role, but mostly definitely your most prominent for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just supposed to be this guy who has no idea why he's anywhere, and suddenly he's being talked up by these people around him, and he's supposed to be celebrated, but he still doesn't know what the hell.
Sure.
He doesn't know what's going on. You know, I met an acting teacher once down in Florida, and he said, you know, I watch your movie and I show it to my students. I said, why? He said, because I teach you are perfect. And I said, well, thank you. You know? And he goes,
I mean, go on.
no, but he was, he said, I show, the guys that I work with are prisoners, you know, which are the most natural actors That's they pull a story out of their ass on demand, you know, for anything. You get stopped, you know what's your name? Mark, what's your last name? Barr. Mark Barr. It's with 2 R's at the end. You could just make up a whole other universe.
Sure.
So he said, when I teach them, here's how to do nothing. In other words, people don't know what to do if they're in the background and the action is going on here. You can't sit and twiddle your thumbs or play with the sides of your pants. You've got to be part of that scene as if it were a painting by a master. You can't like look around, okay, that's my cue and I say something. So he said, I teach them how to do nothing. It's perfect. Because a lot of the time I'm just not reacting, I'm just watching.
Sure.
Yeah. Contribute to the world, to the art.
And then, obviously, John DiMaggio did I Know That Voice, which
Yes.
you were pretty prominent in as well. That was very much a labor of love for him.
Oh yeah.
And can you talk a little bit? I mean, he's not in the room, so if you haven't seen it, by the way, it's a brilliant documentary. Is it still on Netflix?
It might be. I know that it's out there.
Yeah, it's a brilliant documentary that John DiMaggio did, basically talking about the voice actors.
Yeah, what we did and what we really do.
Right.
How you think about things. Tom Kenny, everybody was in it.
And it's a brilliant, it's steps into the mind of the voice actors, and I'm not sure if this is from that or if I read it somewhere else, but basically do a terrible impression of something and that becomes the voice for something else.
Yes, it's a voice no one's ever heard before.
Right.
If it's a sucky impression. You know what I mean?
But it's
somebody imitating, you know, like me with Nixon. It doesn't sound like Nixon.
Not at all,
Not the
but it's
Nixon
still
I remember.
Nixon.
But it's the essence of what he was. You know, he was like a spastic dog that drank a lot and made dumb decisions.
Speaking of which,
Our
Donald
leader.
Trump.
Yeah, oh please. But Zapp Brannigan as Donald Trump was a natural way. It was like the best way to make fun of him.
Sure.
Not his hair, not his cottage cheese, elephant ass, you know. None of that. That's no shaming for me. I just made him, because they look almost alike.
They do.
Physically, and you know, it's like he said such stupid things that you're not sure if it came from Futurama or if it came from him.
I could see him.
I pay my wife $1 a year and all the dresses she can buy.
Trump said that.
I could
All
see
you have to do is read quotes from Donald Trump.
I could see Trump saying, "Kid lured the crew.
Yes.
I slept with a woman."
Yes.
I could see Trump standing in front of a press conference.
Right.
I love the uneducated.
It's like anything he said now is almost workable. It's like instant meme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you post them on YouTube, but also on your Twitter,
Yeah, my Twitter.
which is at @TheBillyWest.
Yeah. Well,
Or is
actually,
it actually
yeah,
Jack?
the Billy West.
Yeah, @TheBillyWest. And before we get to Q&A, you have a podcast now.
Yes.
And it's BillyWestPodcast.com.
.com.
And you've done how many now?
About 8 or 9. I'm still working on them. You know what the thing is? I can't just, shoot them out of the cannon
Right.
because I have to supply content. I didn't want to be a guy that just interviews his friends. Look how cool we are and how great our lives are going. Nobody wants to hear that.
I got a little bit of a...
What? What are you trying to do? Make a fool out of me?
I got sort of a radio drama,
Yeah.
radio theater of the
It's
mind
old-
vibe out
oldish,
of it.
yeah. But that's new stuff to a lot of people. They don't remember that stuff.
Yeah.
The radio, before there was television, people would gather around the damn radio. It was like a piece of furniture. And it had this beautiful green light that looked like a cat's eye, and it was big, and I used to sit there and stare at it. Of course, we had TV, but we got about 2.5 channels.
Right.
Yeah, so I was still listening to radio when I was a kid.
Because, I mean, back in the 1900s, for those of you who don't remember that century, there very much was the theater of the mind. And there was basically the stars of the day that weren't in film were these voice people. But more than that, it was the people that were tap dancing with a pair of shoes that they would just kind of tap on a table, making people think that there was some brilliant...
Say, you're a good dancer. You know, and you believe it because, yeah, it's like books on tape.
Right. Well, and you used to be able to buy, I've got stacks of cassette tapes of old radio shows that you can just get on the internet for free now, but...
You know what's a really funny one, if you don't know about this? In the early 50s, there was a show called The Magnificent Montague.
Interesting. Okay.
And you will die laughing. I mean, it sounds like it's, oh, it's, cornball. I know what this is going to be. It's going to be a drag. Early America Festival. But it's not. It's written so well. And then you find out who wrote these shows. They went on to become producers of Star Trek and MASH and all these old shows, everything leads to something. Don't think that you're just swimming in circles no matter what you're doing in life, because you're moving towards something. Like I said, if you're physics, something somewhere is moving towards you, whether it's a person or an energy. Yeah.
So we got about 15 minutes left, so let's start with the questions.
Okay, so, sorry, I have a list. So I bet you hear this a lot, but you really inspired me.
Yeah.
I do voices sometimes, I do competitive improv and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, so I was just wondering if you have any advice for people who want to get into this business, showbiz, acting, stuff like that.
Are you in college?
No, I'm actually
Good. Get out now, like yesterday. You know why? Because there's nothing out there for you.
Christ, now you tell me.
No, you know that as well as anybody.
I was a broadcast. I was going to work in radio.
Well, you
I'm in IT
know what?
now.
That's right.
I'm in IT now.
I'm talking to you, and you sound like a
I've got the face for radio. Is that what I'm hearing?
no, you get the great. You got a voice, and you know how to keep things moving. Whereas I have no idea how to do that.
Thank you.
I'm all over the map.
I'm just trying not to throw up.
Oh, pukers?
No, nervous.
Oh, no, there were announcers called pukers.
Oh, Jesus.
Because they would go, hey, how many people have seen this? Yeah, they call them pukers.
So what Billy was saying is don't go to college.
And people are like, oh, he's telling kids to not go to school. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be pragmatic. Take a look at what everyone cares about. And you have a skill. You have talent, I imagine. Otherwise you wouldn't be so happy looking. And you said I inspired you, so that might lead to something. But you know what? My job is to never play it small. I never played anything small. I always played it big, because you're doing no service to the universe by playing it small. The whole reason being is that you want someone else to be inspired to do what you did. Yeah, and so the only way you can do that is try to be effective, try to figure out what's the stupid thing that I should put on this voice, like 7D. I did the 7D for Disney, and they gave me Bashful. I said, what, they got rocks in their head? They don't even know anything about me. Bashful, all he did was peek out from behind stuff, and blush. And so I gave him a high-pitched, squeaky, genderless voice, and and then he had lines, and I said, but there's got to be something about this character that I want people to be knocked off their feet. Sure. So I said, what if he hit certain words and just like tyranted them out, like with this cavernous hell voice? Like,
We have to go save the queen.
I mean, now!
he's like, and the executives, I said, they're going to get rid of me. And no, they said, no, we love that. Keep doing that. Gave him a button.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Stay passionate. Stay inspired. That's the thing I need to tell everybody. If you have a tough time finding inspirations, go downtown and let the wind blow you around. Maybe
Not
Sunday
Stockton.
morning. And you'd be surprised what you'll find out there.
Hi there. You had a question.
Yes, I do. First of all, Mr. West, I just want to say you are just a phenomenal voice actor.
Thank you so much.
I mean, seriously.
Thank you.
Not gonna lie, my earliest years of life, probably like the first 4 years of my life, half of it might have been spent watching Doug.
Oh, yeah? So you're a good kid. But even the guys that watch Ren and Stimpy were good kids. I'll tell you something. Some biker came up one time at the show. He comes in, he's all got the leather and the chains, the wallet on a chain and everything. And he looks kind of formidable, and I see him come over and he goes,
Brother,
I just want to tell you that Doug was my whole childhood.
Glad to be of help. No, I mean, he was the sweetest guy in the world, you know, and the world could use more of that. I was always a gentleman pretty much until I started drinking at 18. And I was berserker until I got sober.
Awesome. So my question is that with all of the great characters that you've done, I mean like everything from Doug to Fry, and if what I read on Wikipedia is correct, apparently you were also Shaggy on Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Zombie Island, yeah.
Yeah! So my question is even with your spectacular resume and all the long list of great voices you've done, is there still any particular character or character type that you've yet to play but you really want to someday?
Well, there's types that you like, not like idiots because that's kind of easy, you know what I mean? But to play types that have like some kind of malice in them, or something that is barely visible to redeem them. That's tough to make, because people can like villains. I grew up watching Lost in Space, and the villain every week was Dr. Smith. He's on the ship with this space family Robinson, and the whole time he's trying to program the robot to kill them all. But he's so, I was afraid in the dark alone. Yeah, he was like a delicate. I met that guy. I worked with Jonathan Harris. He was beautiful. He was a beautiful guy, sweet man. He was like this big, black-hearted guy. That's what I like.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
I just had a short two-parter. Have you watched any of Rick and Morty, and when can we expect you to be a guest voice actor?
Yeah! You know what? I haven't seen that show.
You need to.
Well, I know. I need to do a lot. I need to watch episodes of Futurama. I never saw. I need to do a lot of things. No, because you know what? I don't watch television because I don't want to get polluted by TV. That's how you stay pure. Just don't get too much into this or that. Just kind of formulate stuff on your own. And there is such a thing as parallel development. You'll be doing something and some guy on the other side of the world is doing it too, But I just, I watched a lot of TV when I was young, and that stuff all stuck with me. Television started out as great because guys who wrote books, literary guys wrote television. Guys who grew up watching movies before there was television began to write television. So the quality, it's anthropological.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you look at any writer for the original Star Trek, the original series, and then look their books up, and they've written thousands and thousands of pages of what was then considered pulp, science fiction.
Sure.
But is just stunning, beautiful prose.
Yes.
So just pick any episode of Star Trek, the original series, look at the writer, Google them, find a book, buy it, read it, love it, and fall in love with a whole different genre of science fiction. Every single one of them is a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
And they're writing for TV, which is now emerged to be bigger than film.
Anything else? No? Thank you. Hey.
I'd like to, I'm one of the people that grew up like Doug.
Yeah? Another gentleman.
Yeah. One of the first voices I tried to imitate was Peter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a guy, his name is Fred Newman. And we just had a reunion, a Nickelodeon reunion, 25 years when we did a TV special, and I was with Jim Jenkins that created Doug, and Fred Newman was the other voice guy. There were a few voice people, and they were all great. Yeah, he did Skeeter Valentine. And he did Mr. Dink. These guys can do anything. So you're all influenced and everything. Well, there's no Bluffington as you grew up to find it. And there's no beef burgers that I know of unless you're Health Farm. So there.
And did you have a question for Billy?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. I have a request. Could you say a certain line in Snippy's book?
Like what?
Don't go in the basement. There's dead rats living in the basement.
There's dead rats what? Living in the basement. There's dead rats.
Don't go to the basement. There's dead rats living in the basement.
Does that have any semblance, or?
Oh, it's actually from a book called West End Story. It's like 7 stories from West End School. It's just it's a silly book.
No, explain it.
It's the same guy who wrote Holes also wrote this book, and I grew up with this book, and so it's just like, well, that's one of my. It's not an exact same line, but it's just like it's one of my favorite like aspects of it. It's just the dead rats always seem to be getting inside Mrs. Jewell's class.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Dead rats.
dead rats.
Someone had to either bring them there or
They usually it's all on their own, you know.
dead rats?
Yeah, dead rats.
Zombie rats?
Zombie rats.
Ah, there's something. Now you're on to something. Yeah. I'm dead. That's good. I like that. You know what those are? Those are actually like creative writing exercises. Like just imagining something that's not possible. Or you're walking through the woods one day and you see a rock and you kick it and it breaks open and inside is a new primary color. You know what I mean? It's like, huh? How do you describe that? How do you even, you know what I mean? But that's what expands your worldview or your horizon through imagination.
Hi, you got a question?
Yeah, hi Billy.
Hi.
Yes.
My question is, I was wondering if you could wish my girlfriend luck.
Luck?
Yeah.
What kind?
Well, she's starting college in Long Beach next week.
Tell her to get out
God, Billy does
now.
not want people.
If you still have time to warn her, Long Beach isn't such a savory area either.
Billy West says, drop out of school, kids. That's if we get nothing else out of this pattern.
Yeah. Just give me your tuition and leave it be. What's that?
Tell her the voice is dry.
What?
Because Fry would be the one to get that advice.
What's her name?
Angela.
Angela.
Hey, Angela. Good luck with everything, but you didn't say what kind of luck. It could be bad luck, which I have a lot of.
You walked in.
Seriously, Steve.
Well, I knew what I was up for when I started talking.
Anything else? Anything else except getting me to do things for you to score points with your girlfriend? I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How you guys doing?
Seriously, tell her to do what she wants to do. Don't let me run her life. You do it. Oh, yeah? Excellent. I wish her nothing but the best that life has to offer.
How you doing, Mr. West?
Hi.
I thought you were going to do the voice. No, sir, I don't like it.
I didn't do that
You
voice.
didn't do that voice?
Oh. I did the dad.
You do the dad, huh? Okay.
Now get that mouse.
I was asking 3 questions. I was kind of question number 1. Do you know with all these reboots, like, where they're doing like all these reboots and like bringing back the old school cartoons? Would you
Yeah.
ever come back the voice as Doug again?
Nickelodeon was thinking of, redoing some of the old classic stuff that they had. And the thing is, this is the thinking in Hollywood, like, if one Jim Carrey is funny, what about 6 Jim Carreys in the same show? You know what I mean? So they want to put all the characters in one movie. And that's the nail in the coffin. Lower it down. It's dead when you think like that. Each one of those shows had a dynamic that cannot be, invasive species to another. They're independent, and they should stay that way. But if they throw them all in one movie, then they got to find a common enemy.
Right.
And it's like, good luck.
Viacom.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you say Viacom is the common enemy?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Oh, that's funny.
they kind of did it once with Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, but that was something that wasn't centered on those characters. It was centered on Roger Rabbit film
Right.
and Jesse.
But still, they were able to sort of combine several different universes into the same, and
Right, but it was like magic. It was hit and run.
that's what I'm saying. You'd never be able to replicate that. That was sort of the one golden bullet, if you will.
I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, you know, my film won't mind.
But also, follow-up question is that you were the voice of Bugs Bunny in Space Jam.
Yes.
I don't know if you're going to be reprising the voice as Bugs Bunny again in Space Jam 2 since it's like in production.
They've been talking
Have they
about that
called you
for
or like?
14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. We got a long way to go to get to number 2.
Oh, and I got the white with Michael Jordan too, Doc. The closest thing to a religious figure that we have.
And so last question, I wonder if you could say, I want to build a wall, it's be a great wall, and Zapp Brannigan's voice, like Donald Trump said that about the wall.
Wait a minute.
Like, you know,
I have a plan. I'm going to turn the homeless into cheese to feed the hungry. I just made that up, but you see,
But you can see him spouting
you
that.
can say it in his voice, yeah. I want to build a wall. A great wall. A wall we can be proud of. And I want Mexico to pay for it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We've only got a couple more minutes here, so.
Hey Billy, how are
Hey
you?
man, how are you?
Good. I'm a huge fan of Futurama. Grew up with it as a kid. And I was wondering, what was your favorite character to do the voice for?
I'd love to tell you that, and I've always tried to answer that, but everything that I did was not a throwaway. I don't have one that I devoted endless energy and affection and planning for. It's like I always try to do 1000% with anything I was entrusted with. And, you know, some are not ringers like some of the other voices, but it all depends on like what made you choose a particular thing over the other. But they're all labors of love. It's like asking a mom who her favorite kid is that she has, you know. It's hard to do. Except I really do have a favorite. I always do. Yeah. Mom, tell me the truth.
All right, thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last question.
You mentioned radio plays, and I'm given to understand that at least in the 80s that the voice acting studio was like that, and now it's more people recording things individually. Which method you as a voice actor prefer?
Well, you know, I mean, I might be working with a star, a celebrity that's known in another world of entertainment, TV or movies, and we all can't be at the same time a lot of times, so they have to get people separately. I prefer when everybody's in the room because there's this energy. I mean, John DiMaggio and me screw around like nobody's business. I mean, you know, it's like we'll get on something, it's like we'll Jones on something like from a TV or a commercial from old-time radio. Not old-time radio, like 70s TV, like they had Richie Havens singing about Amtrak or something.
All aboard Amtrak.
You know what I mean?
There's something about a train.
You know what I mean? Boy, and then he started doing...
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And he's the guy in Woodstock.
Freedom, freedom.
So then it turns into a whole thing between me and John, you know, it's like, how about if Richie Havens was collected baseball cards?
Got 'em, need 'em.
Yeah. It's such silliness of the highest order, but it keeps us, you know, like,
It keeps the energy going.
yes, it does, absolutely, yeah.
It's just good. Now, we're going to wrap here in 1 minute, but I had one last question. If you could work with a dream cast of voice actors, past or present, what is your dream team of actors that you could work with?
Well, let's go back to the past because I don't want to offend anybody now.
Sure.
I've worked with most of the really great voice actors.
Sure.
You know, I mean, that's a feeling that you don't get often, walking into a room full of genius performers. You know, I mean, I really hold all these people in high esteem, and I can't name them all because it used to be like 8 of us.
Sure.
Now there's like 22 of them, which is great. I think it's great. The business is not going to get any smaller. It's going to keep You could do your own stuff now.
Sure.
You know, I mean, it's not, oh, I gotta find a network of myopic, niggling no-minds, you know, to tear my show apart and say why they can't use it.
All you need
I'm
is
gonna steal the idea after you leave.
you get an iPhone or any phone and record a podcast and broadcast it, and you're going to be on iTunes just like anybody else.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful thing because it allows everybody to not just play the home game, but to take some pride in what you put up there. I mean, you can only go for so many videos where the guy's farting the national anthem.
Right.
You know, it's like, what? 10 million hits!
So maybe instead of saying a Dreamcast,
Who does Butler? June Foray,
June Foray.
Billy Fletcher, Mel Blanc, Don Messick. Who? No, I'm talking about
Past.
old,
Past.
dead people.
We don't want to name anybody present because we don't want to piss
Because
anybody
they might
off.
die, you know that interview. Put it out there. Oh, God's I'm like Quincy. Remember that show? Quincy was like an he was a medical.
He was a medical examiner. Yeah.
For the hospital,
Yeah.
who examined stiffs.
Right.
But it's so funny because in the show, my name is Quincy, you know, and then 15 minutes later, that person would be dead.
Sure. Never be the first guy that Quincy talks to is what we're getting.
Never.
All right, so with that, we're a little over. I
Yeah.
want to say thank you to Billy West.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming to see me out here.
But June Foray is still alive though. So
What's that?
June Foray is still alive.
I know it.
Yeah.
She's
So-
100 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I worked with her, and she's still working. And when I first met her, I was in love with this woman. I mean, like you don't know. And I found myself shaking hands with her, and I wouldn't let go. And she started to get a little nervous, you know. And I said, "What are you gonna do if I don't let you go?" And she went, "Oh." You know, you're bite-sized, you know, that I could put you under my arm and take you home with me. We could just do voices forever. But God bless her, I mean, she was there when it started, you know. You can see plenty of her work on YouTube. All over the place. Rocky Bowling, she shined. Yeah.
Once again, Billy West, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you.